Welcome back to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while cringing at the phrase making love and encouraging characters to just be a Yoda already.
Gonna love what we love, do it out loud. Stack our shelves with the clinches out. Shout it from the rooftop, can you hear the sound? Yeah. Live your best life, love it out loud. Love it out loud.
Hey HBs, this is part 2 of Frisco's Kid by Suzanne Brockman. So if you haven't yet, go and listen to the episode we released yesterday for the first half of this book. When we left off, Mia and Frisco finally did the dirty and decided to make it a habit. But they're still under the misapprehension that it's not serious, and they're not out of the woods with our big bad Dwayne. So let's jump back in.
By the way, so this night, she realizes that she is falling deeply and hopelessly in love with this man.
Yeah, this is when she realizes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a weird time to realize it. You know what I mean? Right when you realize that he can never love you.
Okay, but there was this super cute scene after she realizes that she's falling in love with him. And
Tell
this
me.
back and forth just made me, have a lot of feelings.
Oh, and wait, really quick, notably, she was on top during this scene.
Yes.
And that comes back up later.
Yes. And so before they have sex, though, they are
Yes.
getting ready to go. Oh, I forgot about this. I have a question for you, Melody.
Okay, tell me everything.
Would you ever strip naked in the living room, even if
No!
the child was asleep in the other room
No!
from drugs? Okay, cool. This felt very out of character for Mia specifically because she's in the living room looking him dead in the face and he's like, are you you don't want this? And then she just whips that nightgown off and stands there naked in the living room.
Although, I should put a caveat on that. I would not do that in somebody else's house with somebody else's child.
Fair.
In my own house, you know, my kids sneak up on me when I'm changing all the time. And
Okay, yeah, but
Valor will come
on.
up and try to play slap fight with my tits.
There's a big difference between you getting changed and you being like, I'm about to go to Fucktown.
Okay, that's true.
Getting naked in the living room.
Yeah, there's rarely anything seductive about it when I'm changing.
Yeah. like playing with the human torpedo, children, that's a whole different situation.
Yeah.
But when she did that, I was like, Mia Summerton.
I know.
Ma'am. The bedroom is not that far away. Take his hand.
Sabrina
and just
is
trail
clutching
him
her
behind.
pearls.
I was clutching my pearls.
Yeah.
She may not be writing throat fucking on what he can do, but goddamn, she got naked in
a shared space.
I blew my mind. Mind.
After they have sex, they do
Hang
have this.
on, I didn't tell you the cute
I'm
thing.
so sorry. Tell me everything.
So he comes up to the door and she's in his bedroom and he says to her, it's not too late to change your mind.
Oh yeah, and he gets out of the way of the door.
And she says, why would I want to do that? And he gave her another one of his sad smiles. A sudden burst of sanity.
Oh,
I want to make love to you. Is that really so insane? You could have your choice of anyone you want. There was no self-pity in his voice or on his face. He was merely stating a fact that he believed was true. Good, she said. Then I'll choose you.
mm-hmm.
And every part of me melted into a puddle on the floor.
I know.
That's one of my favorite micro tropes when they specifically state out loud,
I could have anyone.
I choose you.
Yeah.
And maybe that's my own projection, right? Because other people would swing right past that and not even clock it as a thing. They'd be like, oh, that's super cute, but it wouldn't be burned into their brain. And I'm like, this is my favorite part of the book.
I love it.
So anyway.
Yeah, so then after they have sex, they do have a chat where they decide that they want to do this more.
He also because she kept calling him Alan the whole time. And
Yeah.
he tells her that this is the first time in a long time that he's liked being Alan. Okay, this is also my favorite part of the book. That is one of those things. Like, all in all, there are so many little... Suzanne Brockman, I don't know how you do it. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so one of my kinks is a duke giving you leave to call him by his Christian name. And apparently one of your kinks...
Is this a cousin?
No, yeah. One of your kinks is a Sebastian. finding positivity and meaning in his name again after you use it.
and the person that they thought they left behind.
Yeah.
So they end up having a conversation afterwards, though, and he really admits that for the first time, because, like, obviously, we're going to have some deep emotional intimacy now that I've touched your cervix with my penis.
There you go.
And he admits that he really doesn't know who he is without the seals.
Yeah.
And she
says, I believe in you.
Through this entire book says, I believe in you. Maybe you can accept your limitations. Like, she is so supportive.
She says, yeah. And in this case, the takeaway that he gets is, I believe you can win. Mm-hmm. And so she leaves the room thinking that they've just had this wonderful, earth-shattering conversation in which he realizes that he can win without becoming a Navy SEAL again. And he leaves that conversation thinking that Mia agrees the way to win is to become an active Navy SEAL again. And if he can't, she's not going to be interested in him at all.
Yeah, he's like, I want my happily ever after with Mia, which means I have to be a SEAL again. Would she even want me if I fail? And meanwhile, she's like, he's never going to be a SEAL again.
That's
and
great.
I love him despite that.
No,
you know what I mean?
Like, that has no bearing impact on like, I'm proud of him for realizing that he cannot do that, and that doesn't decrease his masculinity or worth.
I would just like to make the comment. So I'm not a huge fan of the miscommunication trope, right?
Yeah.
But the flip side of it is the complete and utter transparent communication where they both take completely separate things from this very clearly stated conversation, but they both walk away and they're like, I know exactly what that conversation meant. I fucking love that. Because I don't consider that a miscommunication. They stated it was a very straightforward conversation.
Yeah.
That apparently can be taken a multitude of ways depending on where you are in life.
Yeah, depending on your subtext. And I really liked this too because A, it was hilarious. B, it was completely believable and relatable.
Oh, absolutely. So anyway, Frisco is somewhere. I don't actually know where he is right now, but Natasha's hanging out at Mia's house. I know where
he is. He has dropped Natasha off at Mia's house because he has dressed up in his dress blues to go interrogate his sister in that rehab center to find out what the hell she did to Dwayne.
He put on his dress blues to go do that?
Yeah, because there's technically... No, but it's brilliant, though, because there's technically no visiting. No visiting, period, the end. And so he's like, maybe if I roll in like a hero.
He's like, I'm Lieutenant Alan Francisco, and I need to talk to this person.
Do you see this limp? I got it in the line of duty. I need to talk to my sister. Thank you so much.
To be clear, rehabbers out there, still no. just so you know, like,
unless you're Alan Francisco.
Unless somebody in 1997 walks up to you with a cane and a limp and his full dress blues and says, I'm Lieutenant Alan Francisco, you can let him through.
Sure. But that's really the only
you should
time.
You should really one, find out why they're here.
Well, he needs to know how much money this bitch stole from Dwayne. That he's willing to use a 5-year-old as collateral.
Whoa.
He's willing to do a big kidnap.
I feel like she could have walked out with his Instant Pot.
Sure.
And he would have used Mia as collateral.
Sure. I think the subtext from what I was saying is he's trying to figure out whether it's manageable and like you know what I mean? Like it's whether or not it's reasonable.
We find out none of this mattered anyway. She lies to him about how much she took from Dwayne anyway.
Oh, yeah. She lies hard. Sherry's the worst.
I'm sorry, what's her name?
Sherry? Sherry. Mm-hmm. Sharon. Mm-hmm. Sharon? Damn it. Well, people call her Sherry. Her friends call her Sherry. That's what I've heard.
Anyway. Yeah, but it doesn't fucking matter anyway because she lies.
Yeah, she completely lies to him. Anyway.
She's at the very beginning of her getting sober situation. Like, she's not going to be a reliable... Like, she's barely confronting her past...
Honestly, Sabrina, I'm wondering if there's any hope for Sharon whatsoever, period, the end. But that is because I'm cynical.
I think that she's at the beginning
this.
Of her sobriety journey, and she's going to fucking lie her tail off no matter what you ask her. Because she feels a lot of shame.
Yeah. Okay.
And so she's going to lie to you.
See, I have a feeling she's going to be the biggest purveyor of toilet wine when she finally gets locked up. That's what I think about Sharon.
Oh my God, Melody. So anyway.
I'm so mad at her.
I see that.
I'm so mad.
Anyway, Melody is on one side of this right now. Mm-hmm. I'm on the side of, I think that this is going to change her life for the better. It's going to be great
for Sharon.
And she will make it through.
Good old Sherry.
And you know what? She's probably going to prison because of the DUI after she's out of rehab, but...
As she should.
I did not say she shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
I didn't say that I don't agree with that as much as I have issues with the prison industrial system. I think that... she
can take her punishment, is what she should do.
She has hope. Okay.
I love that for you. I love that for you. So anyway, Mia and Natasha are in Mia's apartment. They're in Mia's apartment because Frisco specifically asked Mia to keep Natasha over there. He said it under the guise of like, then we won't be like, putting you out too much. But then once she sees Dwayne coming into the parking lot and then coming up the stairs to knock on Frisco's door, she's like, oh shit, maybe it's also because he thought there was a good chance Dwayne would show up. Boy, he breaks into Frisco's house and he trashes the place. Mm-hmm. And she calls the cops. When he hears the sirens once again, he runs away. And then when Frisco gets back, all he sees is like cop cars converged on his condo complex.
So he decides that it's time to get the heck out of Dodge. So he grabs Mia and Natasha and takes them to a barren cabin with zero electricity and no running water and a giant closet full of whiskey.
Wow. The accommodations,
Yeah.
They're so good.
It's his buddy's cabin. And he's like, I'm a SEAL. I've stayed worse places. But boy, these girls, they're going to have some trouble roughing it. And
he is like, Mia has literally only known me the 2 days that I was still drunk in the morning because I was fighting insomnia and grief so hard. And so she has a hard time. Like when he says, I'm not going to drink anymore, not even beer, she's like, oh, we can find you a meeting. Like we can get you the support.
Yeah, she thinks that this is an ongoing 5-year issue since he got injured.
And I don't blame her, especially because of the context she knows with his sister and like dad or whatever. But yeah, he's like, I think she's going to be a little nervous coming up to a cabin with nothing but a closet of whiskey in it.
He also decides in this moment that he's buying that pink couch. He orders it and it's being delivered while they're gone.
He's like, my old couch is torn up anyway. I may as well get the one the kid wants. Stop it. My ovaries are exploding, Frisco.
So all they can think about is the next time that they can make
do it.
And Natasha is in her room And they suddenly realize, oh my God, there's no TV. And Natasha comes out and is like, I can't sleep. So he goes in and he's like, you don't need the TV. Just listen to the sounds of the outside and the cabin and listen to like your ambient noise to help distract you and fall asleep. So then thank God Natasha's asleep and he can
get it done.
Touch it up again. And so they do have sex and she confesses to him and says out loud to him, I'm falling in love with you, Alan Francisco. And he's silent.
Yeah.
Because he knows that you're crazy and you're wrong aren't the right responses. So he just stays quiet.
And of those 3 choices, I'm really proud of him. Oh,
he made the right decision.
I'm really proud of him for this one.
This is the point where Natasha comes out because he's still trying to figure out what to say.
That's right.
And then they have that little thing of like, listen to the sounds of the forest. And when they get back out, she's like, I'm sorry for making things weird. And he is like...
He's like, not weird, per se.
It's fine. Do you want to fuck? And they do go fuck. But he also can't stop thinking about how he's blind both her and himself. He's been lying about the fact that he's gonna be a seal again.
Oh yeah. He says, I cannot let her touch my penis until she knows the truth. And that is that I will never actually be a seal again. I finally have got it through my thick skull. Mm-hmm. And so he tries to come out
Alan
to her.
Francisco, the civilian, not Lieutenant Frisco.
Yeah. And she's like, I know.
And the funniest thing to me is he's like in his head, he's like, would she love him still like that? How could she love him like this when he doesn't even know himself? And I'm like, Alan, she knows.
Yeah, she's known the whole time, bud.
She's told you to your face multiple times, everything. And I understand that you need to take time.
Of course.
Accept your own limitations, right? And it's not even limitation. You need accommodations, buddy, and that's okay.
It's just the next chapter
of your life.
That's it.
That's fine.
And I also understand this. Yeah, but I also understand his side, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm making fun of it.
I know. He's such a sweet bear,
buddy. But also, sit and think about the words that she has said to your face, and you don't, and she's not a liar.
Yeah.
So,
well, and think about your very human body. I'm so sorry to break the news to you that you do have a human body.
You are actually not a paranormal creature.
You're paranormal in so many ways, except for that human body.
Mm-hmm. And paranormal at heart, human at body. And
that
that's okay.
knee is never coming back, bud. So anyway, she's like, I know. And I think that there's still a next chapter for you.
No.
I think you can know.
They don't have this conversation right now.
Oh, shit.
They do instead just fuck it out. Because he's on top and she's worried. She's like, I don't want you to get hurt. And he's like, I need you to trust me that when I tell you, if I'm hurting, I will say something.
Yeah.
And so she does, and they have sex, and then he starts to say something, but she's already fallen asleep.
Okay.
And when they wake up the next morning, Natasha's outside playing.
They have a big fight.
Yep. And he's like, I need to tell you something. So serious. And she's like, are you breaking up with me?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. But
you might break up with me.
I made you think that there would be something more. I let you believe that I had some kind of future. And she's like, you do have a future.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't. Oh, we forgot to say, he was a real shit to her about teaching at the very beginning of this book. Did we talk about that?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Yeah, so this is going to be important right now.
Yeah.
So he is pissed about the idea of teaching and all of that. She's a high school teacher. That's what she does for a living. And that's why she has so much free time right now.
Yeah.
Very convenient.
It's summer times.
Uh-huh.
And he says that stupid thing, like those who can do and those who can't teach.
Yeah. And obviously she takes offense to it.
Right,
back
but
in the
doesn't
gap.
say anything at that point.
Yeah, and so now she looks at him and she says, you do have a future. It's just not the one you thought you'd have back when you were 11 years old. You're strong, you're tough, you're creative, you can adapt. Lucky told me there's an instructor job waiting for you. If you wanted, you could choose to teach. Ooh, and he is
Loses it.
pissed. He is so angry. He goes off about it and he's like, I don't want to teach and like sit there and not be able to do anything and then watch all those young bucks go off and be Navy SEALs and do the thing that I want to be able to do. And she looks at him and she's like, you know what? You're right. Maybe I don't know you. Because he's pushing her away because he's like, how could I'm going to be worse off if she loves me and then leaves like she'll inevitably do and blah, blah,
But what's
blah.
that thing that she says to him? He says those who can do and those who can't teach. And she says something about something.
Yeah,
and then
she
she says
says-
a teacher shaped the future. What is it?
She says again, here's another adage for you. Those who are taught do.
Yeah.
Those who teach shape the future. And he says, yeah, and teaching's right up my alley, right? And then he says his those who can do, those who can't teach thing again. And she says, is that really what you think about teachers? About me? And they fight.
And she's like, I'm done. I cannot do this. I obviously don't know you. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And so she gets in her car and she goes to drive the like 2 hours back to their town.
Well, and specifically, she says to him before he leaves, and this is important because it flips some switches in his brain.
Okay, yeah.
She says, you're right. I don't know who you are. I thought I did. I thought you were a SEAL. I thought you didn't quit. But you have, haven't you? Life isn't working out exactly the way you planned it, so you're ready to give up and be bitter and angry and collect disability pay while you drink away the rest of your life, sitting on your couch in your lousy condominium, feeling sorry for yourself. And he says, that's right. That just about sums up my big plans for my exciting future. And then it says she didn't even say goodbye. She just walked out the door.
Yep.
So Thomas shows up, and I was very confused about this until I realized he had a car because I did not register this kid was 18. I was not really sure how old Thomas was this entire book. I just knew he was a teenager. And
Thomas is the best.
That's a wide range of ages.
Indeed.
But he does show up, which kind of surprised me. I was like, you had enough time to tell Thomas where your secret liquor cabin was?
No, he set this up before. He said that the girls were going to hang out at the cabin and Thomas was going to come get him and take him back to town so that he could deal with Dwayne by giving him 1,000 of the $5,000 and telling him that the rest would pay for the damages in his apartment.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
So Thomas shows up and boy, he gives him Frisco the talking to that Frisco needs. Thomas is
This is
like
the best. He keeps on being like Lieutenant Dumbass.
he's basically like me as a catch, and she wouldn't spend this much time without loving you. I've also never seen a man leave her apartment. Ever. So like clearly she cares and gives him an old talking to. And then Frisco looks up and he's like, why are you telling me this? Because you don't seem to realize what was directly under your nose, Uncle Blind Man. Frisco used his crutches to propel himself away from the kitchen counter, his movements jerky. I do know. You're wrong. Maybe. But one thing I'm right about is whatever it is you're scared of, whatever you're hiding under your anger, it's nothing compared to the fear you should be feeling about losing Miss Mia Summerton. Be afraid of that, Navy. Be very afraid.
And I loved this because Frisco's like, I was exactly like you, dumbass. Like I was aggressive and I was mean and I was lashing out at everybody because I was scared. And Mia saw through that with me too. And that's why she's been my favorite teacher forever. And like, if you have that romantically, you dick nose, don't give that up. What are you doing? Don't push her away. It's great. So anyway, then he takes Natasha down to the crick.
Thomas does.
Yeah.
And Frisco's having a moment. He's looking at that whiskey, confronting his life, his choices, himself, his future, his past, everything. Like, he's having a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Mia leaves. She immediately regrets leaving.
Yeah.
Because she thinks to herself, Mia knew Alan didn't love her, but if there was ever a time that he needed her, it was now. And she'd let his angry words hurt her. She'd run away. She'd left him alone and on the edge with only a 5-year-old child and several dozen bottles of whiskey for comfort. And so she decides she's turning around. She's like, that was a rash decision.
Yeah, I should have gone for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
A walk would have been great.
Yeah.
Like, I needed to separate myself from the situation, but I should not have abandoned the child with an irrational adult and a closet full of alcohol.
By the way,
yeah.
The reason that he needed to have that conversation with her and admit to her all of the truth is because he realized he's in love with her.
Yes, but he didn't tell her that.
No, he didn't.
No.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they got a little sidetracked.
They did. Yeah, they pulled a Bill Shakespeare on each other. Is what they did. Old
so
Billy
familiar.
got in the way.
I don't normally think of myself as somebody who stands on pomp and circumstance, but like, maybe I'm a little bit more like that than I thought that I, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
So anyway, on her way back, there's a car coming towards her and it ends up running off the side of the road or something.
It runs her off the side of the road?
I don't
know.
It's fine. Yeah, whatever. So she goes to investigate. She's like, oh no. Well, it turns out it's Dwayne and he kidnapped Natasha and quote unquote
still don't
killed Thomas.
I mean,
Natasha's heartbroken that her future husband is dead.
Oh my God, because listener, Thomas's last name is King and princesses can only marry kings. I cannot. Anyway, so I still cannot tell you how Dwayne found out their location and I whimsied it hard.
Whimsied hard.
So please don't come here for answers.
I don't care.
Nope. And then then Dwayne takes him. He absconds with both of them.
Yeah.
And then what's his nuts? Sebastian goes to find where Natasha and Thomas are.
Because it's too quiet.
Yeah. And so he goes down to that creek and he finds Thomas like doing a big wooze and a bleeding from the back of the head number on the ground.
And then he decides it's time to call in Alpha Squad.
He's got to call in the boys.
He can't do it alone. And I was fucking cackling because he calls Joe and he's like, I need you. And Joe he's like, I need Alpha Squad. And Joe says, how many guys you need? How many you got? How's all 7 of Alpha Squad? And then Joe calls and he's like, cancel Alpha Squad's flight out. Our training mission has been delayed. He glanced up at the cloudless blue sky. Due to severe weather conditions. Unless otherwise directed, we'll be off base as of 1600 hours, executing local reconnaissance and surveillance training. And I love how ride or die all of these guys are for each other.
I do too.
He calls and he's like, I need you. And Joe's like, we're all coming now.
Yeah.
So this was the moment
that you thought there was going to be some shenanigans and malarkey, and you were excited about it.
No. I mean, yes, but no.
Okay.
They're all in Frisco's apartment, okay?
With the pink couch. It's there now.
It's Command Central. And this is the moment I had forgotten. Like, somewhere in my head, I was aware that this was happening in the 90s.
Okay.
And this is the point where I got slapped in the face with the wet fish of 90s technology.
Okay.
Because, Harvard said, finishing hooking the computers and other equipment to Frisco's phone line.
Yep.
And then they're all frat house humoring. And then, so they figure out where Mia,
Dwayne is.
And Dwayne and everybody is. Because Dwayne
He doesn't know they have Mia right now.
Oh, you're right.
He thinks they only have Natasha.
You're right. So Dwayne... whatever this is in reference to, it doesn't matter. So Dwayne has them at this fancy rich person house. Frisco ends up going and asking his sister, like, what the fuck? Why is I gave Dwayne the money? Why is he still after us? Turns out she took 50,000 instead of 5,000. And then I got slapped in the face again.
Ooh, tell.
Because Harvard says, I've got that location on my computer. They're on their way soon as I print them out a map. You need
map
directions?
quest.
Kat was listening in. Tell H to send a copy of that map to the fax in my Jeep. Frisco stared at Joe Cat. You have a fax machine in your Jeep? Kat smiled. CEO privileges.
Cutting edge technology, Sabrina. Cutting edge. Well, also, they have a very sexy, like, we know each other super well because our genitals have touched conversation in which he...
yeah, this is when that happens.
Yeah, so he calls and he's like, I need proof of life. Like, give the phone to Mia since now I know you have her. And Mia says, go get the money from my super rich parents. You remember my super rich parents? They live in like this area, which is where they are. And then be careful. Like she
they
says
have
something
two bodyguards who are armed. And so you need to be careful when you go talk to them. Yeah. And this is all a coded message because he knows her parents are from Malibu.
They are poor, though, in Malibu.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, and then he says, well, make sure that you and little what's-her-butt are really talking all the time. And maybe
and she
give
needs
her
a cold ice bath.
Yeah.
She's sick.
Because of that fever. If she is a fevered, put her in an ice bath. And she's like, okay, so he wants me to put her in a bathtub and he wants me to make a lot of noise with her. Don't stop talking. She's like, I don't understand why, but that is what I got from that code. And that's what I'm going to do.
She also, right before the phone cuts out, she's like, I love you, Frisco. Or I'm sorry, I love you, Alan. And as the phone cuts out, he's like, maybe she does really mean it. Frisco, babe.
Buddy. Come on. I mean, granted, he did yell at her and like super insult her entire vocation. So I can understand why. He's like,
yeah,
does
absolutely.
She really love me though anymore? Did I fuck it up?
Natasha definitely has a future in espionage because she freaks out the bodyguards or the guards so much by quote unquote vomiting water vomiting into the toilet, but really she just put water in her mouth and spit it up and made gagging noises
in a theatrical manner.
Yeah, and all of them were like, yeah, either espionage or theater.
Indeed.
Yeah, and then they do get there, and Frisco is in charge, and oh my God.
Joe Cat has him going in. This was when I actually cried.
This was rough. So Bob's one of the Alpha Squad, and he's told to stay on the infrared, and he makes a shitty comment about how that job's boring and a paraplegic could do it over the headset. Yeah. And it gets real quiet and real awkward. And then, and I have the note, I'm not crying, you're crying. Because Frisco is accepting his limitations. So he's like, are you only sending me in to like give me one last chance at the field?
Like you're going to let me play soldier one more time before my forced retirement? And Joe's like, well, and he says, you're going to let me play soldier one more time where like I won't be able to get anybody really hurt.
You figured you could babysit me, and the fact that I can't run and can barely walk without crutches wouldn't put the squad in that much danger. Kat respected him enough to not try to lie. But he couldn't bring himself to agree either. And then Frisco said, but still, my being there is going to put the squad in some danger. It's nothing we can't handle. But if I'm not part of the team that goes in the back door, the chances of a snafu happening decreases. It's not that big of a deal. Frisco pulled himself to his feet. Bob, when we get ready to go, I'll switch with you.
Yep.
And he accepts because, one, he wants the people who are most likely to keep Mia and Natasha safe to be the ones going in to do it.
Yeah.
And he's accepted.
He sacrifices his pride in front of all of his war buddies in order to save the two girls he loves most in the world.
Well, and then Lucky steps forward.
Yeah.
Lucky says, hey, buddy, we know how important it is for you to go in there. And Frisco says, working in a team means recognizing individual team members' strengths and weaknesses. And as much as I want to be the one to protect Mia and Natasha, I know I can't climb in the attic window. And the fact is, I have no business trying to sneak in that back door either. I'll man the infrared.
Yeah.
And so they all do go in.
And Joe stops and he's like, hey, man, I know how much that, like, I'm blown away by you right now because I don't know if I would be man enough to sit on the sidelines if it was my wife and baby. Like, this is huge. And it really shows, like, what a fucking tactical mind and team mind you are. And there is still a place for you in the SEALs. So, like, seriously think about it because you can do a metric fuck ton of good by coming back and working with us still. And they go in and they save the goddamn day.
Yeah, I feel like I either checked out and suddenly they were saved. Because I swear to God, it went from
it happens
starting
real
and then
quick.
it just okay.
I mean, they're
back.
3 buffoons. It's like 4 SEALs against 3 buffoons.
No, it's all of Alpha Squad. So
No, but I mean, like, on
minimum.
But I mean, on the first floor, there's like 3 of them upstairs to get the ladies, and then the rest of them are down there. So, like, yeah, it's all of them, right? And they tie them up in the front yard, and they're like, "Call the cops! We gotta take out the trash."
Yeah, is that an ambulance?
Why? Wow, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think that's an ambulance. Maybe that's a European ambulance, even.
The least Navy SEAL thing ever. Anyway, so the girls are saved. Mia is shocked because she finds out that Frisco went to Alpha Squad for help
in the first place
instead of being forced to accept the help. And she runs into his arms and he's like, man, he doesn't say this out loud, but in his head, he's like, I might not ever be able to run again, but that doesn't mean I have to live without Mia.
Yeah, Frisco.
Yep, we're on the same page now, buddy.
She's been saying that the whole time.
And then they get back to the condos, and I have to read you this because it was adorable. Because Natasha is distraught because they're like, yeah, we're definitely going to get Dwayne put away on murder. I literally, my sister witnessed him murder somebody. And then Natasha's like, me too. Oh, he killed Thomas.
Yeah.
And they're like, Thomas is alive, sweetheart. He's upstairs.
She's like, no, he died in front of me.
As Mia watched, the door swung open, and sure enough, there was Thomas King. Tasha launched herself at him and nearly knocked the teenager over. Hey, Martian girl, Thomas said casually and matter-of-factly as if they'd run into each other on the street, but he held the child tightly. That and the sudden sheen of tears in his eyes gave him away. I thought you were dead, she told him, giving him a resounding kiss on the cheek. And if you were dead, then you couldn't marry me. Marry you? Thomas's voice slipped up an octave. Whoa, wait a minute. A Russian princess has to marry a king. You're kind of short, Thomas told her. I'm not so sure I want a wife who's that short. Tasha giggled. I'll be taller, silly, she told him. I'll be 16. 16. Thomas looked as if he were choking. Look, Martian, if you're still interested when you're 26, give me a call. But until then, we're friends, all right? Natasha just smiled.
I love everything about them.
Oh, God.
And they're together forever, and they find out for sure that Sharon has to go make toilet wine for a few years. And so they're going to have Natasha for sure for the next, several years, I think.
He also finds out that she was on her way back to the cabin.
Yeah.
When they got taken. And they're talking, and he's basically talking about how your vision of the future, the way my future might have been, was pretty accurate. Although I'm willing to bet you didn't picture me drinking myself to death on a pink couch. And she's like, might have been. And he's like, yeah, That's not my future. I may not be a seal anymore, but I'm not my old man. Or like, no, he doesn't say it. He's like, I am a seal. I'm still a seal. It's only my knee that's busted.
Yeah.
Not my spirit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about finding a place on the first floor near the beach, and I'm going to go teach. And I want there to be space enough for me and Tosh and maybe you too.
Whoa.
Me? She whispered. He nodded. And she's like, you want me to live with you? Hell no. I want you to marry me.
Oh, boy.
And then he says, I know you're probably speechless with joy at the thought of spending the rest of your life with a man who owns a pink couch. She hasn't said anything. And she's like, do you love me? And he says, you know, up at the cabin when I said all those horrible things, what I really meant to say was that I, Alan, am absolutely fallen in love with you, and that I was terrified both of what I was feeling and of the thought of you ruining the rest of your life by spending it with me. How could you have thought that? I still think it. I just figure I'll work really hard to keep you happy and smiling, and you won't even notice.
There you go.
And then they're together forever. And they kiss. And apparently he's whole.
He's whole now. And he was before, really. He just didn't realize it.
By the way,
What?
the music at the end of that audiobook
Yeah.
killed me.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Also, the most important part of this entire book is that the summary for King's Ransom, book 13 in Tall, Dark, and Dangerous is Childhood Friends to Lovers, the book that readers have been waiting for. It's Natasha and
no
King and Thomas's. It came out in 2020.
No
The book
fucking
that
way.
readers have been waiting for. And Frisco's kid, Tasha Francisco, was a strong-willed, independent child thrown into the temporary care of her Navy SEAL uncle, Alan Frisco Francisco. Years older, but still just a kid himself, Thomas King lived nearby. Tasha took one look and declared she'd marry him someday. Thomas wasn't quite so sure about that. Now Tasha's a strong-willed, independent young woman, and Thomas is an officer and a hospital corpsman with SEAL Team 10.
Oh, shit.
When Tasha's uncle Alan asks Thomas for a favor to help keep his niece safe as she travels to a remote ski lodge with her wealthy boyfriend's royal family,
What?
Thomas grimly accepts his role as Tasha's bodyguard. But things go wrong. Terribly wrong. And Thomas and Tasha find themselves alone together in the freezing wilderness on the run from the dangerous men who want her dead. Thomas only knows one thing for sure. He'll sacrifice everything and anything to keep Tasha safe.
Holy fuckballs. Now that is the shenanigans and malarkey I was looking for.
I know.
God
so what
damn
I'm thinking, what I'm thinking, I have to read this whole series to get to their book anyway.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that
You'll read them and then we'll cherry pick.
we'll do some quickies.
Okay. Yes, I
I'll
would
give
love
you
to
some
do
quickies.
quickies. Yeah.
And Tasha and Thomas's book is next year.
I kind of love that. And then if we want to, we can do, more.
We can do some of the other,
Yeah, in later years. But I think we
this
have to
is-
skip straight to Tasha and Thomas. I'll lose my mind if we don't.
I can't do that melody.
No, I mean not for podcast.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean for, well, I don't know. So I'm going to have to read all of these books anyway to get to
Yes.
Tasha and Thomas. I will give you quickies, but who knows? Maybe I'm going to come across one that has so many insane shenanigans.
Yeah.
We have no choice but to continue our tall, dark, and dangerous journey.
Maybe.
Annually. We'll see.
Maybe.
At the very least, we will be doing an we have to do an actual pod episode on Tasha and Thomas. I'm sorry.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been more excited about an upcoming book.
Melody, I almost told you at the very beginning of this episode that they have a book, but then it became very clear to me very quickly that you had no idea. And I was like,
no idea.
Oh my God, no. I'm going to have to I got to keep this a secret. And every time I kept mentioning them, I was like, oh my God, Sabrina, keep your cool, keep your cool, keep your cool, keep your cool. And then I was like, I got to the end and I was so proud of myself, Melody. And because I could see it on your face. I was like, and then the most important part of this entire book happened.
I had
or
no
like
idea.
whatever it is that I said. And you were clearly, I could see it on your face. You were like, what the fuck did we miss?
I was lost. Ugh.
King's Ransom.
You are correct, ma'am. You are correct. All right, Sabrina, what is your lady love?
My lady love is fucking get rid of the clothes that you haven't worn in a long ass time.
Yeah.
And buy the clothes that you fucking want to wear.
Yeah.
I have stuff in my closet. So what started this little journey?
Oh my God.
Actually, step one is I bought like a dream dress that I won't be able to wear super often because it's very thick and warm. But I took it to England with me, and wearing it that day, that I was just meandering with my little black heels in that dress and my tights, I felt like all I could think was, this is it. This is the aesthetic that I want. One of them anyway. And I had decided as of that moment is because I hate shopping if I have to shop.
Yeah.
Shopping because I have to buy something makes me want to crawl into a pit and never come out.
Okay.
Right? I want to live in a cave where I don't have to wear clothing at all.
Yes.
Period. And so I've decided that like whenever I'm in a good enough mood, I'll just like meander the store and like the deals and clearance racks and stuff and see if I can just find things randomly that are the things that like I want and that I would wear. And so I did that the other day. And I found a couple of skirts and a couple of pairs of shorts that I love. And I was like, you know what? I don't need these clothes. Because I literally, the second step of this is I did the fully ADHD thing of, you know what? My life is overwhelming. My house is dirty and a mess and blah, blah, blah. My executive dysfunction is struggling. And you want to know what the obvious solution to do that is?
Oh boy.
On a Saturday morning, I'm taking every single item of clothing that I own out of my dresser and my closet and putting it on my bed because then I'll be forced to deal with it in order to fall asleep.
We always tell ourselves we're going to be forced to deal with it.
But also, why did I do that instead of just cleaning up the trash around my house?
Listen.
Why did I do that instead of sweep? Why did I do that instead of putting my tools away? Doesn't matter.
These are all the questions
By the way,
eternal questions, frankly.
Listener, just a, disclaimer, just a PSA. Putting it on the bed to force you to deal with it doesn't work. Because now, listener, both side tables and my coffee table and my dining room table have my clothes on it. None of it's in the closet. It just got moved, and now it is a part of the scenery.
Yes.
To be fair, I have decided that I am capable of putting 5 items on a hanger a day to go in the closet. And so that has been what I've been doing. I am slowly tackling it because I can't handle the thought of putting all of it. Whatever. Anyway, so the point of this is I've been not throwing out, but like I keep looking at clothes, especially because I work from home now. And so I don't have to have office clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm keeping this office clothes, like the professional clothing that I really love.
Mm-hmm.
And getting rid of the shit that I would wear because I needed office clothing.
Yeah.
But I don't need it anymore.
Yeah, love it.
And so I'm doing that. I'm fucking getting rid of shit left and right. And oh my God,
you have the cutest skirt on right now.
So fucking cute.
Yeah.
It's adorable. I will take a picture at some point. And it's just, I love it. I love it so much. Fucking buy the things if you can financially anyway. Get the closet of your dreams. Wear it if you want to wear it.
Yeah. Get the closet that fits you right now. Personality, size, whatever.
I did find a shirt while I was going through this closet. I can promise you to God I have not worn this since I was a teenager. Why do I still have it?
Great question.
Doesn't fit. I'm a
yeah.
whore.
I hear that.
Anyway, my lady love is wear the clothes of your dreams.
Love it. I love it.
What's your lady love, Mel?
My lady love is a new technique we are trying with Valor. It's been tough over here, listener. We've been on the struggle bus for a minute with wonderful Valor. There's just like there's a lot of like tantrums. There's a lot of like, sensory overload things. There's a lot of, we're working through it as we go. And for a minute there, we couldn't figure out like what to do to sort of break the cycle that she sometimes gets in, like the mental loops you get in that keep you upset or whatever. That happens to her a lot. And so it doesn't matter what's actually going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Michael was trolling like, autism websites and, parent websites and all the business. And lately we have been offering her like ice packs when she gets really, really upset. So one of them is like just a bag of rice basically. And we put it in the freezer. And then when she's super, super upset and it's really hard for her to focus on anything except the mental loop that she's in, we offer her an ice pack and we have her hold it against her chest so that it sort of brings her back to her body. And it allows her to like focus on something that is outside of her head and her emotions and all of that. And I'm like, I don't want to jinx anything, but it has been really effective so far. Even to the point that she felt herself getting really wound up the other day about, whatever it was that she wanted to mix the barbecue sauce into the chicken and not have it mixed for her. Like it can be the smallest thing that you don't even think about, right? Mm-hmm. And so she felt herself getting really, really wound up. And Michael was like, okay, she could like hear the tone of voice where he's like trying to talk her off a ledge before she gets there. Mm-hmm. And she looked at him and she says, Dad, may I please have my cold thing? And he was like, yep, yes, I would love to get that for you. And she just held it there and she like worked through her shit. And we went on with the rest of our day.
I just love a growly little Valor being like, cold thing.
I need you to hand me my coping mechanism, please.
Because
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So we're hoping that continues to be something that helps. And, we'll go back to the drawing board if that changes, I guess. But right now, man, you want to get your kid out of an upset mental loop? Try a cold thing to the chest.
Just filing that away is just something to keep.
No, and maybe for like
mind.
You. Yeah.
I was like, man, that sounds like it could very well be effective.
It seems like it's something that would be difficult to come up with on your own. You know what I mean?
Well, but it makes sense because like talking to my therapist, one of the things is like external stimuli that forces you back into your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like that would work. Right.
Yes.
And then on top of that, bringing it to your chest. So like, I'm not even thinking from like an autism, like neurodivergence point of view, but like from a PTSD and anxiety point of view, forcing your nervous system to acknowledge, like to basically jolt it out of that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like cold would be very effective.
Cold
That's interesting.
and snuggling. Because it's also like a protective gesture to hold it against yourself. It's a comforting gesture.
Well, because like me, when I run into things like that, is I have the dogs, and they're the small, and so I'll go lay on my bed, and hold that. Like one of them will lay on my chest, and I'll snuggle them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I like that. I'll have to remember that.
So that is my lady love because, wow. It has helped.
I bet it's a lot more peaceful in your house.
Well,
now.
I don't know that we would say that. I don't know that we want to go that far, but
It is somewhat,
yes,
occasionally more peaceful.
Yeah, there is a thing.
It's
that
not
is
the
working.
level of Armageddon that it was prior.
It's been tough over here, y'all, but we love it and we love her and we're working through it and it's great.
You're such a good mom, Mel.
I don't know about that, but thank you very much. I love you.
I love you.
Michael's
too.
a really good dad. I
too.
have a
You're
really
just good
fucking good
parents.
partner, and that is incredibly helpful. Holy shit.
He gets cold ice packs.
God damn it.
I'm sorry, bags of fries. He makes you realize things about yourself via forehead kiss.
Yes.
Really, there's nothing that man can't do.
I know, he's so multifaceted.
Multifaceted. He contains multitudes.
Yeah. All right. Keep being a badass.
And love yourself as much as you love a shenanigan.
And a malarkey. Just a little bit of malarkey.
And a check that got written 20 years ago being cashed in 2020.
And maybe in 2025 on the Heaving Bosoms podcast.
On the Heaving Bosoms podcast.
We don't know.
Cha-ching.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye.
Hey, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with Bull Moon Rising by Ruby Dixon. That's right, we decided to treat ourselves. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you next week.